Hello children, welcome back. Today we are now going to start our fourth session of the bridge course or the school readiness program for the 9th standard first language English. Now let's recall the assignments that were given to you in the previous session. Match the reporting verb with the correct preposition. Shall we check the answers? Are you ready with your books and pens? Now look at this matching tables. The first one has reporting verb dream, expect, approve, believe, disagree, congratulate, subscribe, vote. Now let's check what are the prepositions that match with these. Dream about, expect from, approve of, believe in, disagree with, congratulate on, subscribe to and vote for. Good. I suppose most of you have got it right. Now let's check the next one. Change the plural nouns to its singular form. The first question that was given to you was, the men cleared the chimneys with their brooms. Now what will be the right answer? A man cleared a chimney with his broom. So here see the ones that are in the white. The men has become a man. The chimneys have become a chimney. Their brooms have become his broom. Now we have written his because we are talking of a man here. Now we'll move to the next question that was given to you. Those ladies drive too fast. The right answer is that lady drives too fast. Children, please note when you are changing it into the singular form, the verb drive will take the S form, which means it will become drives. So the sentence, the correct answer will be that lady drives too fast. The third question that was given to you. The teachers assigned projects to their students. A teacher assigned a project. Projects will become a project to their students, to his or her student. Now please note that there we don't know whether the teacher is a male or a female. So here we have to either write it as his or her student. What was the next assignment given? Yes, to underline the adjectives in the following sentences. The first sentence that was given was, Mount Everest is the highest peak of the world. Yes, the right answer is highest. Now the second sentence that was given was, Raju is more intelligent than Ravi. Now what will be the answer? Very good. More intelligent. Now we'll move to the next question. It is a beautiful day. Yes, beautiful is the adjective in this sentence. Now here comes the last question that was given. This is my sweet home. We live happily here. Now the right answer is sweet. I hope children you have been enjoying these classes. Before we start with today's session, let us see, we have two friends who are having a small dialogue between them. Let us watch them and see what they are going to tell us. Hello Rani, how are you spending your time?
Hi Rosie, I am taking online classes. I have nothing to do after that. What's that in your hand?
That's my book of poems. I write all poems that I like in it.
Rosie, I feel I cannot enjoy poems as there are fewer words than in a lesson. So, I never try to read a poem on my own.
Oh, you're mistaken, Rani. Poems have less words, but there are many things which beautify them. In fact, poets allow us to use our imagination to comprehend it. Come, let us learn about poetic devices that help us enjoy poems.
Do you really think I'll be able to do it?
Absolutely yes, Rani. You too can start having your book of poems.
Okay, I will have a new hobby then.
Poetic devices not only enhance the reader's intellectual experience but also create interesting sensations. Now let's look at an example. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. Look at these lines, children. Now, do you find anything special here? Yes, why is it very rhythmic? Why is it very soothing to our ears? It is very musical, right? The reason is they have something called rhyming words. Now look at the rhyming words. We have an end rhyme in these lines. Now when we say end rhymes, it means the rhyming words are at the end of the lines. So here the rhyming words are care and stare. Now let's look at another example. I spent time in the forests of Africa with Dr. Livingstone as my guide. Then off again to America with Huckleberry Finn I did hide. Now children, can you identify the rhyming words here? Can you identify the end rhyme here? Very good. Now let's see. Yes, what rhymes with Africa is America. The word guide rhymes with the word hide. So I suppose you have understood rhyming words. Now let's move on a little further. In your 8th standard, you have already learnt about the rhyme scheme too, which we will now revise. Now what is a rhyme scheme? Rhyme scheme is a pattern which will be seen in the poems so that it will give us a rhythm and rhyme to the poem. Now let's look at this example. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep or cows. Yes, this is a familiar poem, right? It is taken from your own textbooks, children. These lines are taken from the poem Leisure, written by W.H. Davis. Now look at the rhyming words there. Care, stare, boughs, cows. Now there is a set pattern here. Now what is a pattern that we see here? Yes, AA, BB. Now what do we mean by AA? Now when we say AA, it means care and stare. Both are similar. Therefore we will name it as A and A. Now boughs and cows are sounding similar, right? So we will name them as B and B. Now you have already done many such rhyming scheme activities in your classroom. Now this is only a revision, so let me take yet another example to help you with it. Now again, this is another poem which has been taken from your textbook, Modern Machines by Rudyard Kipling. Some water, coal and oil is what we ask, and 1/1000th of an inch to give us play. And now if you will set us to our task, we will serve you 4 and 20 hours a day. Now can you think of the rhyme scheme here? Very good. You are very clever. Ask, play, task, day. So here it is alternating. Therefore we have named it as A, B, A, B. Now let's check our comprehension. I will give you a simple task. You can write it down in your books and then try to answer it. Identify the rhyme scheme based on the rhyming words that are given. Now in this exercise, I have not given you the whole lines, but I have only given you the end rhymes. So seeing the end rhymes, you will have to identify the rhyme scheme. Now let's see what the end rhymes are. Cloud, hills, crowd, daffodils, trees, breeze. Now what do you think will be the rhyme scheme? Is it A, B, B, C, C? Is it A, B, C, C? Is it A, B, C, A, B, C? Or is it A, B, C, C, B, A? Yes, come on. Very good. It is A, B, C, C. Why is it A, B, C, C? Cloud rhymes with crowd. Hills rhyme with daffodils. Trees rhyme with breeze. So it is A, B, C, C. The word cloud rhymes with crowd The word hills rhyme with daffodils, trees rhyme with breeze. Therefore, the rhyme scheme will be AB, AB and CC. Are you with me, children? Now let's move to the next poetic device, figure of speech. Now in your classes, you have already studied about 4 different figures of speech. Can you tell me what they are? Yes, very good. Looks like you are very good and you remember very well. But let's revise them one by one. Now let's look into the first one, simile. Look at this example. She sways like a flower. Now do you remember from which poem this has been taken? Yes, it has been taken from Palanquin Bearers. Now here you have to imagine that the palanquin or the princess sitting in the palanquin is swaying like a flower. So here the princess palanquin or the palanquin in which the princess has been sitting is actually swaying like a flower. Now let's look at another example. Balu is as wriggly as a worm. Move to the third one. My dog is as smelly as dirty socks. Here the dog is being compared to the dirty socks. Now here we see in simile that we generally compare 2 things. Let's look at yet another example. Nature can swirl like a falling leaf, sometimes turning to butterfly, or bereft on the ground turning to dust. Now let's look at some tips which will help us identify the simile. Now there can be 2 formulae which will basically help us in identifying a simile when we find it in a poem. Sometimes even in a prose piece we can find these. Verb plus like plus noun. Now in the sentences that we already saw, we saw sways, which is a verb, then we have the word like and then a noun, a flower. So we have this sways like a flower. And in the next example we saw the verb. In the next one we see wriggles like a worm. So here this is one example, one kind of formula that we can use in order to identify the simile. Now let's see what is the next way of identifying a simile. The next way of identifying a simile is by using a formula as adjective as noun. Now what do you mean by this? Now we saw as smelly as socks, as smelly as socks. You would have also heard of as cool as cucumber. Now you have an exercise in your textbook which will actually help you. Go back to your 8th standard textbooks and do that exercise so that it will really help you. So I suppose you are very clear with the understanding of how to identify similes using these 2 formulae. Let's move to the next figure of speech, metaphor. Now what is the difference between a simile and a metaphor? In both of these we use comparison, or we see that we compare 2 things in both the simile as well as the metaphor. Now let's understand what it is. A comparison in which one thing is said to be another is a metaphor. So what is metaphor? Metaphor is a comparison in which one thing is said to be another. Now here we have an example. Sometimes we say she is a walking dictionary. She is a walking dictionary. Now does it mean that she is a dictionary? No, it only means that we are not saying that she is like a walking dictionary, but on the other hand we are trying to superimpose the 2, that is her and the dictionary. We are trying to superimpose and we are trying to say that she herself is a walking dictionary. Yet another common example that you would have heard is Tippu is the tiger of Mysore. This doesn't mean that Tippu is a tiger. It only means that Tippu was like a tiger. Look at one more example of a metaphor. The student's mind is a bucket and the teacher pours in knowledge. Now this is a metaphor. Is the student's mind really a bucket? And does the teacher really pour knowledge? No. But here we are seeing it is meant to be said that the student's mind is like a bucket, but here we are using the phrase the student's mind is a bucket and the teacher pours in knowledge. I suppose the metaphor is now clear. Now, can you tell me what is the metaphorical line here? A piece of paper is a baby, blank and unfurled, untouched by the world. Yes, very good. The line, that is the metaphor here, is a piece of paper is a baby. So, here instead of saying is like a baby, we are using a piece of paper is a baby. So, this line is the metaphor here. Now, let us check our comprehension very quickly. You have to identify the figure of speech. Look at this short poem here. The birds are like flying flutes making a nice song. So, here you see that the birds are flying, the flying flutes making a nice song. So, the figure of speech here is simile. Now, how did you identify that it is a simile? Yes, the clue is the word like. Yes. So, here what are being compared here? Two objects that are compared here is the birds being compared to a flying flute. We will move to the next one. Oh, there are some objects here. You have to match the objects based on the character or the quality that they possess. Two of these objects have something in common, which means they have comparable qualities. Now, try to match the objects with the comparable quality of the other object. Yes, cheetah and rocket, capsicum and the man with the big nose. Now, let us try yet another activity here. Let us try to frame sentences using these objects. Let us try to frame metaphorical sentences. Now, what can you frame here? Jones has a capsicum nose. Now, look at the other two objects. Let us frame yet another sentence here. Cheetah is a living rocket. Here both of them are compared or common with respect to their speed. In the first object, both of them compared because they have similar shape. Very good. Then let us move to the next figure of speech, that is personification. What is personification? Personification is a technique which every writer uses that gives a human quality or human trait to non-human or non-living objects. Now, here is a beautiful example, picturesque example. The waves danced on the jagged rocks. The waves danced. Now, do you think the waves can dance like humans? No, but here the poet is trying to give the quality of a human being to the waves here. Now, let us check some more examples here. Oh, how happy I am. Now, look who is talking here. Yes, the kite is speaking. So, a non-living object, a non-human object is saying it is very happy. So, here again the kite is said to be personified. We say the kite is personified. Now, this is taken from one of your poems. I suppose you can recognize it. We can see and hear and count and read and write. We can see and hear and count and read and write. What is personified here? Yes, machines. Now, here it is a computer, but generally we have taken this from your poem where machines are talking. Do you recall the poem? Very good then. Let us check our understanding of personification. Let us check our comprehension. Now, guess the personified object in these lines. I bring fresh showers for the thirsty flowers from the seas and the streams. Which object is personified? Who is speaking here? Who brings fresh showers? Yes, the right answer is clouds. So, the cloud is personified here in these lines. Let us see yet another example. It whistled throughout the day. Do you recall? Can you identify who whistles throughout the day? Yes, it is the wind. Yes, so what is personified here? Wind is personified here. Some water, coal and oil is what we ask, and 1/1000th of an inch to give us play. And now, if you will set us to our task, we will serve you 4 and 20 hours a day. Now, what is personified in this object here? what is the personified object here? Yes, a machine. So, a machine, if you set it to play, it will work for us 4 and 20 hours, which means 24 hours a day it will work for us. So, the machine is personified in these lines. Let us move to the next figure of speech that is set in your syllabus, that is alliteration. Do you remember? Alliteration. Come on, say it with me. Alliteration. Very good. What is alliteration? Alliteration is the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. I shall repeat. Alliteration is the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. So, you will find these sounds, similar sounds or same sounds close to each other. So, that is how we recognize them as alliteration. Now, let us check if we remember. Let us read some of these examples and see if we remember alliteration. I am a man-made machine. I am a man-made machine. Now, which is the sound that is repeated in these lines? M. I am a man-made machine. So, the sound M is repeated. Now, let us move to the next one. Round the rugged rock, the rapid rodent ran. Now, what do you think is the repeated sound of the letter here? Good. R is repeated. Round, rugged, rock, rapid, rodent, ran. So, in all of these words you have the R sound which is being repeated. Arthur already answered questions about the account. Now, what do you think is the repeated sound here? Very good. Arthur already answered about account has this sound, right? That is a sound. So, A, the letter A is repeated. Now, yes, alliterations generally also give us lot of tongue twisters. Now, let us sit back and enjoy some of these tongue twisters. Do you want to write it down, children? Please write it down. I shall read it very slowly for you. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck, he would, as much as he could, and chuck as much as a woodchuck would, if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Yes, now I shall read it a little faster. See if you can practice it and play with your friends. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would chuck, he would, as much as he could, and chuck as much as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. You enjoyed it, children, right? Now, let us go back and check our comprehension of the alliteration. Now, what should you do now? You have to identify the repeated sounds in these short lines of the poems. Laughing lions laugh like jumping jaguars on top of talking trees. When the talking trees start talking, the joking jaguars fall off. Could you make out? Yes. We have the repeated sounds of L, T and J in these lines. Now, sit back and underline the repeated sounds here. Okay, L, T and J. Let us move to yet another poetic device, theme and the mood. Now, why did I take these two together? These two have been taken together because they reinforce each other, they help each other. The theme helps us to gain the mood helps us to understand the theme. So, let us know what are these two. Theme is the meaning or the central idea of the poem. Mood is a particular feeling, particular emotion which is evoked when we read a poem. It is a emotion which is evoked in the reader, or sometimes when you listen to a poem, you become the listener there. So, both theme and mood reinforce each other. Now let's look at some of the examples of the mood. Now there are a lots of them, but it's very difficult to bring in everything here. So I have taken a few of it which have been incorporated in your textbooks. So the first is a reflective mode. Now what do you mean by reflective mode? Here it means that the poet is actually reflecting, he is introspecting. Now the second one is cheerful or a happy mode. So when you read this poem, you will say, I felt very happy reading this poem. Now the third one is lonely. Next one is hopeful, calm, idyllic. Now what is idyllic? It means you are talking about nature. Mysterious. Yes, some of the poems can be mysterious. The next is humorous, something which will have some jokes which will make you laugh. Yes, yet another one is angry. It can generate angry mood, or sometimes a poet might be in a very angry mood. When you read the poem, you might sense the anger of the poet in the poem. Now let's quickly look into identifying the mood of the given lines. Gaily, oh gaily, we glide and we sing. We bear her along like a pearl on a string. Now this is again taken from the poem Palanquin Bearers, written by Sarojini Naidu. Now gaily, oh gaily. So these two words says that they are happily trying to sing and they are taking the princess in her palanquin. So what is the mood here? Very good. They are in a cheerful mood. Now let's move to the next one. Now what are the different types of themes we find in poems? It can be love of nature, it can be a war poem, it can be a historical poem, it can be a spiritual based or a spirituality based poem, it can be a poem based on sports, it can be a poem on death, it can be humorous. This is only a very short list of themes that I have mentioned here. Let's try to identify the theme here. If I were hanged on the highest hill, mother o' mine, oh mother o' mine, I know whose love would follow me still. Mother of mine, oh mother of mine. Now what do you think is the theme that the poet is trying to bring out here? Very good, it's a mother's love. Now let's move to yet another poetic device, the imagery. Now what is an imagery? It is a technique which most poets use to paint a picture in a reader's mind. Yes, to paint a picture in a reader's mind. Yes, that is imagery. Now when you read certain poems, you will feel that yes, I can really feel it, I can feel the picture in my mind. Let us see what the poet does in order to bring out the beauty through the imagery. He uses hearing words, sight words, feeling words, gustatory words and smelling words. Now since I cannot take all the examples, let me take you to one of the examples which will help us understand. Try to identify what kind of a picture comes in your mind. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Here it is as if the cloud is saying that it was moving over the mountains and hills, and all of a sudden it saw beautiful golden colored daffodils down on the earth. So now this is the picture that the poet is trying to create. In today's class we have learnt about rhyme scheme, figures of speech, imagery, mood and theme. Children, today I am not going to give you any special assignment for this session, but there is a overall bridge course assessment sheet. Now you can download the assessment sheet from the DSCRT website. Now the assessment sheet will be available at the following link. You can click on the link to get the assessment sheet. Now what should you do? Download the question paper, answer all the questions and submit your answers to your respective subject teacher. Are you through? Yes. Have a nice time. Thank you.